Hey everybody, this is Kelly of Rojo Chief Clothing, and as you see right here, this is my Instagram, and I'm going to click on my link tree. That's going to send you to all of my links: Anchor.fm, the YouTube channel that you already know about, my online clothing store, and my Facebook page, so you can follow me. Alright, so Anchor.fm, that's my podcast. So stories or news that I'm not going to post on YouTube, you can find them on my podcast, and you can listen to them on Spotify and also on Breaker and other, podcasts. Okay. Then, as you may or may not know, this is my online clothing store where you can find fashions on here for men, women, kids, and babies. So, let's get ready for the show. And you see this woman right here, she's doing what they call the Holy Ghost dance, which is the ghost dance. Hey everybody, this is Kelly of Rojo Chief Clothing, and today I'm going to show you some images of the Arawak people, the natives, the American Indians of the Caribbean, in the Caribbean. So here is a picture of Anna Kaona, and these pictures and these video clips, I got them from Lokono because I asked them for some images to show the Arawaks, because when you go online and you do a simple Google search, they'll only show you the people who have what they want to call Mongoloid features, but they don't show you anybody that look like us, that have the type of so-called Negroid features that the Paleo Indians have. So as you see here, here's an image of an Indian that look like us, and then here are some Indians right here that's from Haiti, and they're dancing, and they're definitely Negroid. Here's one image of the Arawaks. Then here is another image of the Arawak Indians, the ones that you probably would see, like most of the time, the people with the more Asiatic type of look and the straighter type of hair. And then here's an image right here of the Arawak Indians. And as you see, they're dark-skinned people, copper-colored folks. And you see their headdress. Okay, so that's one image. And then here's another image, and it says here, natives representing wild Indians on Carnival Day in Trinidad. Then you see that these folks wore a deep copper color complexion. And it looked like they had nose rings, skirts, their headdress on, and what appears to be like, I guess, like a spear. And then here's an image of the Maroons in Suriname. And as you see, look at their features. They're in the Caribbean. Suriname is part of the Caribbean, and we know the Caribbean is part of the Americas. Now look at these people. They have a drum. This lady has some sort of musical instrument. I'm guessing it's a drum, but it has an image of like a person. You look at her hair. She has like, her hair looks like it's kind of straight, like she got it pulled back. And this man, he looks like he has curly hair that's cut short. So these people are the American Indians of the place that they're at in Suriname. You know, but the interesting part is that you can clearly see why today they want to say that the Maroons, like in Jamaica, how they try to say that the Maroons are African people, where indeed they're not African people, but they're American Indian people. And then here's some other images of Indians, Aztec, and then Mayan. Then I'm clicking on this picture here. Here's another image of the Arawak people. And as you see here, they're barefoot. And they have curly hair. And they're standing in front what appears to be like a hut. Now, for people that are stuck on the out of Africa theory, that they would say out of ignorance that these people are African, but they're not. They're Arawaks. These are the original people that were there on those islands prior to Columbus and the Spaniards coming there. This is how the original people look in Puerto Rico, in Jamaica, in Haiti, in Cuba, on the Dominican Republic. And here's another image of the Arawak people. As you see, you look at the people, they're barefoot. You see their clothing. You see this man. He looks like his hair is like part way like an afro, but look like it's braided in the middle. And you see this little baby here, this little child, he has a little afro. And then you see this man, he has on his hat. And then you see these other children, and they have short afros. And all these people are dark-skinned people, and these are your original inhabitants of these islands, of the Arawak peoples. Of, like I was saying, the Arawaks, the original inhabitants that Columbus and the Spaniards and the Portuguese end up seeing on these islands. Now you see this man right here. He has on his headdress, and he has on his tribal clothing. And it appears that he had like the head, I guess, of an enemy. Okay, so and then you see right here, you look at the artifacts. It says, "Give us our Birdman back," Jamaica tells the British Museum. Now, it says Caribbean treasures the Birdman sculpture to the left. And then it says, and the rain god. And we already know that American Indians, they do the rain dance in order to make it rain. So, as you see, then I'm going to read it. And it says here, it says, Jamaica is demanding the return of a pair of wooden sculptures from the Caribbean that have been in London for more than 200 years. The carvings of a rain god and a birdman, both around 3 feet tall, are currently in storage at the British Museum. They are believed to have been made by the Taino, the indigenous inhabitants of the Caribbean, when European explorers landed in the 15th century. So I'm going to pause right there because we already know that Taino is the language of the American Indians that's in the Caribbean. And from my understanding, I heard that the Taino and the Arawak are the same people, but Arawak is the older term or the original term for the people. So it says, due to war, famine, and the introduction of previously unknown diseases, they were largely extinct a little over a century after the settlers had arrived. But we know that's not true. We know that the people that they want to call Taino are still there, and they were still there even after the Spanish came there and brought, different diseases to them. It says the statues were discovered in a cave in 1792 and first went on display in London 7 years later. According to the museum's catalog, the treasures are among a number of historical artifacts originating in Jamaica that the island's government is demanding to be repatriated from the UK. Olivia Grange, Jamaica's cultural minister, said they are priceless. They are significant to the story of Jamaica, and they belong to the people of Jamaica. We are working through our National Council on Reparations to have them returned. Both sculptures were kept in the South London home of an art dealer, William Oldman, until his collection was split up after the Second World War and sold after his death. The British Museum said it had not received any official communication from the Ministry of Culture in Jamaica. The spokesman added the British Museum has a number of ongoing collaborative research projects and catalogs and island governments in the Caribbean. It is the latest roll over the artifacts of the museum. The Greek government, for example, has long demanded the Elgin marbles removed from the Parthenon and to return them in the 19th century. And those have been returned. Okay, so basically, at the end, they was talking about the Greeks and how they wanted their artifacts returned as well. And then here's a map when they're showing you the different artifacts. And it's telling you, it says the Birdman, it says AD 1029 through 1156. Then it says anthropomorph, which is from AD 1426 to 1487, which was the rain god. And then you see the other little structure, and it says time period 10/28/1156. Then Cambridge Hill 1295 through 1400. And then there's another sculpture, Hillshire Hills dated back to AD 1445, 1523. AD 1110, 1520 is, they feel is more accurate. And then they have these other statues that they say they give an estimate that they were around since 1206, 1397. It says the sculptural legacy of the Jamaican Taino, the carpenter's mountain carvings. It says Jamaica has a remarkable artistic heritage, its ancestral roots stretching back in time to the original inhabitants of the island. A small group of Taino wood sculptures have survived centuries in dry caves, where they are placed for ceremonies or for safekeeping. Some of these carvings have been held as prime examples of Taino artistry, the centerpieces of museum displays and catalogs, unlike the stylized conventions of the Taino carvings from Hispaniola, which is Dominican Republic and Haiti, since they're on the same island, and it says in Puerto Rico. So you notice how they mention Puerto Rico as well as where the Tainos were at and where the carvings of the Taino people exist. Okay, and we already know how the Taino people, how they looked, or the Arawak people, how they looked, because of the images that I showed you previously. It says the Jamaican examples have a unique impact, featuring an innovative style that incorporates and enhances the natural features of the wood. They reveal a rich artistic legacy that has much to contribute to our understanding of Taino ritual, belief, and aesthetic. Each also has complex stories to convey from the debates about their symbolism and meaning to issues of cultural patrimony. Some Jamaican Taino carvings, such as the three sculptures recovered in 1792 from the carpenter's mountain, have a long history of display and interpretation, while others are almost completely unknown, giving the caliber of surviving examples. Taino artistry undoubtedly flourished on the island, yet only 12 sculptures are currently known, 9 in museum collections and 3 documented solely through archival records. Discussion of these pieces extends over 2 articles of sequential issues of this journal, focusing first on perhaps the best known of early finds. Carpenter's Mountain Group, the second article, would explore over 18th century discoveries as well as carvings brought to the public attention in recent decades, such as the Abukir's sculptures. Together, the articles aim to provide an overview of some of the recent directions and studies of these sculptures, including their historiography, iconography. And these are the images of the sculptures. Okay, and so here's an image of a Carib, which is another American Indian people that was in the islands, also, as you know. And here it says Pantsman Caribbean Carib. And then you see this image of him. It has like a little skirt around his waist, afro. This one. And it says Carib, man and woman, Caribbean. So here's the blown up version. Of the man, of the Carib. And he looks like he had like wavy hair. And this woman here, she looks like she has long wavy hair. And the man, he looks like he does as well. And this is what he says: Haiti, Arawak, witch doctor. Prior to modern practices, back in the day, indigenous people used to go to their herbal doctor or spiritualist and receive info to heal by studying the plants and other things. Team Americas, American Indian Empire, chop chop, Western Indian. So that's what Lokono basically has sent to me to help me out with this video. So as you see, the inhabitants of Puerto Rico, of Jamaica, of Haiti, also Cuba as well, are of Taino ancestry as well as Carib. But we know Taino is the language, and originally those people were known as the Arawak people. And there's reason to believe that the Arawaks had migrated from South America and then populated the Caribbean islands and also the Virgin Islands as well. And then this is what Wikipedia has on them. And then as you see, like I was stating earlier, that they came from like South America. It says the Arawak are a group of indigenous peoples of South America and of the Caribbean. Specifically, the term Arawak has been applied at various times to the Lokono of South America and the Taino. So when you see people of Puerto Rican descent saying that they are Taino, they have Taino blood, well, that falls underneath the category of Arawak. And it says, who historically lived in the Greater Antilles and the Northern Lesser Antilles in the Caribbean. All these groups spoke related Arawakan languages. Now you see this, it says Arawak, and you look at this lady. She has a copper color. She has a bow and arrow in her hand. She has something around her waist. She has wavy hair, and she's holding a parrot. Okay. And this image is by John Gabriel Stedman. It says regions, significant South America, Caribbean languages. Arawak, Arawakan, Taino, Caribbean English, Caribbean, Spanish, Creole languages. And then here's an image that they have of people. So they have different hair textures. Some have straight hair, some have like more curly type hair. You see this man in the back, he's pretty tall. Looked like he had curly hair, but it was like short. Then you see these other people, and their hair is like wavy. So as you see, they all had different type of hair textures. And it was all different colors of copper, a brown. And it says the Arawak people gathered for an audience with the Dutch governor and Paramaribo Suriname, 1880. It says the Spaniards who arrived in the Bahamas, Cuba, and Hispaniola today, which is Haiti and the Dominican Republic, in 1492 and later in Puerto Rico, did not bring women on their first expeditions. That's a fact. It says many of the explorers, or we should say colonists actually, and early colonists interbred with Taino women. In other words, interbred, that's just a good way to say, raped the women, because that's basically what happened. The women, the Aboriginal inhabitants, the Taino, the Arawak women, they did not want to, breed with these men, but common sense, right? The Spaniards of Moorish descent, because the Moors went up into Spain about 800 years from North Africa, and they mixed in with the women that was there in Spain. And then later on, those Moorish men came to Puerto Rico, and they came to Cuba, and they came to Haiti, and they came to Dominican Republic, and obviously, you know, South America, Central America, Mexico, and they had raped those women. And you're talking about great, 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 great grandmothers, you know, three times back, 4 times back, 5 times back, depending on your genealogy, if you live in these places. And that's what happened. And then they made a caste system. It says who subsequently bore mestizos, or mixed race children. So that's what you see today. So when you see the lighter skinned people that we would call red bones, or, you know, high yellow, and they have, you know, so-called good hair, wavy hair, that's because of the rape that took place of the Spaniards that came from Spain, and the Arawak women. It says these races include other indigenous groups, Spaniards, which are Europeans, and it says African slaves. But as you saw, that on the islands, they had drums already, they had sculptures there already, and you clearly see that their complexions and their features are similar to African people, but they're not African people. They are the indigenous American Indians of those islands, in the Caribbean, in the West Indies, in the Virgin Islands, and they've been there for thousands of years prior to the Spaniards and the Portuguese bringing the African people over. And then here it says, though generations of numerous mixed race descendants still identify as Taino or Lokono. In the 21st century, these descendants, about 10,000 Lokono, live primarily in the coastal areas of Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, and additionally Lokono living throughout the larger region. Unlike many indigenous groups in South America, the Lokono population is growing. So as we know, also, like in Brazil, for instance, you have the Amazon tribe. Okay, so that's one of the other indigenous peoples that they're talking about that exists in South America. Please like, share, and subscribe, and make sure that you hit the bell so that you know when I upload a new video.